Here, you can exercise your rights to freedom every day without leaving your home. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with me, Anele Mdoda. So in 3 days' time, on the 25th of November, the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children will kick off with many campaigns around the country. It is a problem that has a devastating impact on the lives of individuals and families in South Africa and in every country around the world, really. 2 years ago, SAB launched #BeTheMentor18+ campaign that aims to prevent underage drinking. Andrea Quay, Vice President Marketing from AB InBev, joins us in studio today to tell us more about this campaign and a new one that they're launching. Have a look at this.
I was never brave. I was young, out of control. Barcode. Spat. Screamed. Crashed. Gave nothing but my fists a fighting chance. Bengi Iguala. I was never brave. Stalked, crawled, through the storm. Lad. Fled, followed, never led. If only someone had stepped in, pulled me out, showed me I could be brave. Severity, that's why I became the mentor I wish I'd had.
Powerful stuff. So, Andrea, why was it important for SAB InBev to be part of this?
Thank you so much, Anele, for having me on your show.
Yeah.
Be the Mentor program is one of our flagship programs.
Yeah.
And the idea behind it is about encouraging young adults to be the mentor they wish they had. What we learned from a lot of the research was that young people were not necessarily listening to the parents or to the teachers about underage alcohol consumption, which is something that we do not condone. And so what we went about doing is we identified mentors in different communities and got them to pick kids that they wanted to mentor.
Okay, so how do I then, if I haven't been identified by you guys, how do I just become a mentor?
So a normal person would just go on to our website and pledge and say that they want to be a mentor. So it is obviously anyone can be a mentor. We would obviously have to interview you. So we've got a company that we work with, which is Instant Grass, to make sure that it is pretty kosher.
Okay, then what results have you seen from this? I mean, you say you launched it 3 years ago,
yes.
This campaign.
Yes.
What results have you seen? Did you see a change in tide, a change in thought, and an improvement in underage drinking?
So, I mean, the results have been really great. Currently, we've got 500 mentors with about 1,500 kids that they mentor. And when we did the research, we found that the kids that had mentors, 92% of them either delayed consumption of alcohol till they were 18 or actually stopped consuming it. So the results are really powerful because they are in the communities. These are people that are respected as part of their own communities. So it's been really impactful.
So what's the approach? Because I find if you tell people not to do something, that's when they're going to want to do it, right?
Yeah.
So what's the approach? Do I just become a mentor and kind of highlight other great things in your life? Like, we don't speak alcohol unless you want us to? Or is it like, these are the dangers, don't do this, wait until you are old enough to make these decisions?
Definitely. So generally what happens is the mentorship is obviously a personal relationship.
Yes.
So whatever is happening in the young person's life, you will be talking about it, be it school problems, friend problems, and whatever. And there's a specific module on alcohol consumption and the consequences of drinking alcohol when you're underage.
Because I find with young people, because I mean, I was a young person once upon a time, when you instill such a like an insatiable sense of self-belief that, you know, you are enough, you are perfect, whatever you are is good, go on your own path, that's when they are not like pressurized into then underage drinking.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
So is that also part of the program?
That is definitely part of the program. But it's really about having an adult that you can talk to about your problems that will give you an unbiased, unjudgmental point. Yes, unjudgmental point of view. Because I mean, parents, and I'm a parent, no matter how hard you try, you tend to be a little bit harder with your own kids.
Okay, and then there's a new one now. So we've done Be the Mentor, and that's still happening.
That still carries on. So it carries on throughout, you know, throughout the year.
What's hashtag No Excuse?
Hashtag No Excuse is a movement that we kicked off on the 13th of November. And it is an open platform movement that invites South African men and corporates to join us. And the whole movement is about saying no to excuses for gender-based violence. We found from work that we did around this area that one of the behaviors that needs to change are either people standing by and saying, I'm not going to get involved, this is a personal, you know, it's a family matter, or people in abusive relationships that use excuses to carry on abusing. So, for example, we've heard a lot of, I was so drunk, so I just had to do this, or she triggered it off in me, I'm the head of the house, you know, so there are many excuses. And so what we want to do is highlight the fact that there is absolutely no excuse to abuse a woman.
In the hashtag No Excuse, are we also delving into the emotional abuse? Because you know what, people find that just because you don't hit anyone, then you're not abusive. But I find also, you know, I'm so sorry I said that I was drunk. Why are we blaming poor alcohol? Alcohol did nothing. That is you speaking like that. So are we also putting a spotlight on that part?
You know what, we have decided to pick a lane. It is such a big problem, and I don't know whether you know the stats. 3 women in South Africa every day are killed by their partners or ex-partners. So it is a scourge. You know, we are at war. We are at war against women. And so we want to pick one specific route. Because we are inviting other corporates and men to join in, obviously, if another company wants to join us and talk a little bit more about the emotional abuse or the financial abuse, you know, men sometimes use finances to abuse women, they are more than willing to do so. But as a beer brand that talks to men, we have decided to go for the biggest issue, and because we have such big brands, we believe we can do the biggest, we can have the biggest impact.
Do you not find that sometimes your advertising message and then your hashtag Be the Mentor, hashtag No Excuse, they sometimes at loggerheads?
No, because we believe that the majority of men or the majority of people consume alcohol responsibly. And the idea of feeling pride in your masculinity, and I'm talking about Carling specifically, the idea of feeling pride in your masculinity is something that is good. But using your masculinity as a tool, violence, that is not good. And that is not the type of masculinity that we condone. So I don't believe that they go against each other. There are some people that abuse alcohol, and those that abuse alcohol also have a link to abusing women. So we are fully aware of that. But we believe that as a corporate citizen, we need to lean into it. You know, we don't want to skirt the issue. We want to be part of the solution.
Look, I know that you guys do great work, even from like your own at SAB in Bev itself with your own staff. I even know the hectic rules that are around, because people think, oh, you work at SAB, yeah, you can drink as much as you want, and that's not the case. And I know how you guys are very strict at that, and I know that you preach the responsible drinking from an inner circle outwards. So we thank you so much for your work.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, thank you for hosting me.
So Andrea is pushing these campaigns and urging people to take a stand against women and child abuse. Hashtag Be the Mentor, hashtag No Excuse. If you haven't pledged to be a mentor to someone who desperately needs one, go and sign up right now. After the break, Garth Taylor will share his inspirational story with us. Don't go anywhere. good. I go too as well. Welcome back. Violence against women and children is a heartbreaking reality, and we need people to stand up and take action, not only during the 16 days of activism, but for no violence against women and children always. One person who is doing that is Garth Taylor. He didn't come from privilege and had a start in life that would have broken many. He spent the first few years of his life in and out of orphanages, places of safety. His guitar, a pen and paper were the only constants during his turbulent young life. Despite these difficulties, his music career has spanned nearly 20 years and won him multiple awards. We welcome Garth Taylor to Real Talk for the first time. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you for finally coming. I remember you were reminding me in the bathroom when we met, and yes, it was at the Simon Webb show.
Simon Webb, yeah.
Simon Webb was the one from Blue, hey?
Exactly, the guy with a deep voice. Exactly.
And he used to like to plait his hair and stuff like that, and then he cut it.
Good looking dude, nice voice as well.
Hey, you said it.
Real manly voice.
Hey, you said it, you said it, you said it. So God, thanks for coming here to share your story. I understand your childhood, you know, wasn't smooth sailing, as people would say.
It wasn't ideal, no. Obviously, I'm not the only one, but I started off with in a welfare home. I was taken away from my house when I was 3 months old. My real father, unfortunately, was an alcoholic, also a schizophrenic, and to top it off, he's also a drug user. So he was in a bit of a state. The welfare had no choice. They took me away, and I was in my first home until I was about 4 years old. At that point, my mom was able to come and get me. She got me out the home, and we fled to Zimbabwe. I know it sounds weird, but that was back in 1980-something.
So you must be celebrating too then.
I am. I love that country.
It's part of you.
I grew up there, which is, when she arrived in Zimbabwe, then I was taken away again and put back in a home because, unfortunately, you know, it's like the whole green card thing. When you leave South Africa for greener pastures, you think things are going to go well. And unfortunately, things didn't go well for her. So back in a home I went. And about 10, I was just before my 11th birthday, I think, if I recall correctly, I was taken out that home. So my mom had met and remarried. So I was able to then start like my life as a child in a family.
When you're away from your mother, are you yearning for her? Do you remember her? Or is life smooth sailing where you are?
You know, to be completely honest, I don't remember my first 4 years. So, you know, I have these vague flashbacks of little bits and pieces. You know, we always like to remember the bad things in life, unfortunately. So there was a couple of
rough
dodgy moments, yeah. I don't remember whether it was from the first home or the second home. But I definitely, when I was getting older, I started missing my mom a lot, you know. I wasn't allowed to see her all the time. She was allowed weekend visits. Luckily, because it wasn't an abusive situation on my mom's part, it wasn't supervised. She was allowed to take me out for the day, etc., etc. So, but I really did miss that. You know, myself and my sister were together, so at least we had each other in the home. But yeah, it was very traumatic to know that every time she left, I was very upset. I remember as I got older because I wasn't sure whether she was coming back.
And it's a feeling of abandonment.
Absolutely, yeah. I was very confused. My mom actually and myself, we get along very well right now. She's living in Australia. I was about to ask,
how's your relationship like now?
Great. She, you know, I lost my sister to cancer, so myself and my mother got very close after that. And we speak often about, you know, the past and everything. And she told me that I was a very good kid, considering.
I was about to ask, how do you not have angst? How do you not build anger? How do you not act out when that is constantly happening to you? How do you not blame everyone else?
That's a very good question, Anele. I found that was my own personal choice, to not use what I'd been through as an excuse to be an animal. You know, a lot of men unfortunately do this. They have a rough time. The dad was a bit hard on them, you know. They were bullied in school, something. They weren't picked for the first team of rugby. And they go on to blame everyone for their failures. And then they start treating other people more or less the way they were treated. And I made a specific point not to do that, not to be angry, just to take what I'd learned. And I vowed never to be like that to anybody else.
Is that a decision you make once to yourself, or is it like every morning you wake up, you're like, Garth, you will not be angry?
That's also a great question. You have to constantly remind yourself, because we're all human.
Yeah.
I'm a guy, you know. Guys have got a different... guys, unfortunately, have got different instincts. We've got different genes in us, well, different molecules. We
Wiring.
operate differently. We're wired differently. So as a guy, you want to be tough. You want to be the guy that everyone looks at and goes, whoa, that guy, oh, he's successful. Well, that guy's so strong. That guy's so this. You want to be a leader. And very often men misinterpret what that means. So, you know, you want to get angry when you're not supposed to be angry. So, yeah, I have to remind myself, calm down. Especially because I come from a schizophrenic, alcoholic, drug abuser. Can you imagine?
You don't want to be that guy.
No, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah.
So, I mean, you performed on the same stage as Brenda Fassie, Lebo Mathosa, Jonathan Butler, Simply Red. Yeah. And yet you say your most memorable... Brian McKnight.
What a singer.
One, you like a dream come true. Sorry. Like
if I was inclined that way...
you definitely go that way. Stand in line, guys. Stand in line. So, I mean, you've shared this stage with all these people, yet for you, the most important... you know, the biggest stage you say you've been on is when you performed to an orphanage. Is that because of your history of where you come from?
Of course, of course. I find, you know, we always talk about full circle in life. Karma, blah, blah, blah. Karma is also a good thing.
True.
Yeah, in my opinion, I feel as strongly, my best moment in my entire career as a celebrity was when I was able to go back to a children's home. It was a welfare children's home also. And perform and throw a Christmas party for a bunch of kids, because that's where I was. And I have a photograph. It's on my Facebook page of me sitting right next to Santa, trying to get his attention. And that Santa at the time, I have no clue who it was. I think it was a cricket player,
Santa.
a famous cricket player.
It was Santa.
It was, of course, it was. Yeah. And I was sitting there trying to get his attention as this little kid that came out of an orphanage, and I was there with all the other kids from the orphanage, from the children's home, and. My biggest moment was being able to be that celebrity sitting with a bunch of kids around me. I mean, surely that's the whole circle just like completed.
And you tell them that I was here.
Absolutely.
You know, don't be angry. Like, life deals us these cards.
I know exactly how they feel. I know exactly what they're feeling, how they're feeling. You get mixed emotions, right from rejection to abandonment to I'll never make it in life to I don't stand a chance to look at all these other kids with all their fancy toys and this and that and I've got nothing. But I look at it as this is what I tell these kids, and I really mean it because I was there. Look at it as a challenge. And I tell them, I put it to them that they actually are more fortunate. They are more fortunate that they are starting here because it makes you work harder. It makes you try harder. Without being given everything in life, you tend to want to succeed without... It's like being a carpenter without the sharpest chisel. You'll make a way to make that work. I mean, being in Zimbabwe, you used to see that the Nyangombis, the river gods, those sticks that they carve out.
They made them without like the...
Yeah, they make them with the most crudest of tools, but they make them the most beautiful, beautiful walking sticks. And this is the lesson that I give to these kids, that, you know, don't look at this as a handicap. Look at it as a blessing, because you guys are probably going to come out smiling much better than that kid that you see at school that's got all the fancy lunch boxes.
It won't take much to make you happy. You know, people place happiness on so many things. This couch, this flower, you know, this vase, this car, this house, this hair, the rings.
Yes.
But, you know, when all it takes for you to be happy is for you to open your eyes.
Absolutely.
Do you know how happy you are?
Exactly.
Okay.
Many of my friends know me to be that guy that makes everything. It's like, why don't you just go to the shop and buy the damn thing? It's like, I want to make it, because from a very early age, I didn't have what other kids had. Like, I didn't have the radio-controlled cars, so I made myself a wire car. I mean, in Zimbabwe, I wasn't subjected, thank God, to the terrible atrocities that this country was subjected to, the cultural differences, etc. So I hung out with all my kids in the rural areas, and I hung out with... there was absolutely no barriers. I used to make wire cars. I used to play marimbas. I used to African dance. I mean, I used to do all the... People ask me why on stage I dance like a black guy, and that's because I don't really see what that is.
I want to see this dancing like a black guy.
You have to come to one of my shows for that.
Well, listen,
I can do it.
You've got a song, If I Could Raise My Hands, that you're going to perform for us later. Before you perform it, you're going to tell us how and why you wrote it, right?
Absolutely.
And then you're going to give us the performance.
Yes. I don't dance with it, though. It's slow.
I know. I wouldn't want you to... Although, raise your hands. I don't know. Who knows? Listen, stay tuned. After the break, we'll talk about the Power Walkathon campaign, and we'll talk to a woman who was abused and rejected almost at the brink of despair. We will be right back. Welcome back. Abuse can happen to any woman. It does not choose color. It does not choose age, nor social status. I can't speak all of a sudden. People Against Women Abuse Power are urging people to break their silence against domestic violence through their Break the Silence walkathon that will be on Sunday, the 26th of November. So on her 13th birthday, gang members broke into the family home and raped her. She ran away from home, fell pregnant, and ended up without money, work, or an education. But her story did not end there. Today, Iris Cupido is the CEO of SABC Foundation and is passionate about helping women who are abused, hurting, and vulnerable. Joining her is Masishaba Shai, a woman with endurance through an abusive relationship as a daughter, mother, and wife. She's also the author of Removing the Mask When Living a Lie is No Longer an Option. We welcome both ladies and thank them for coming to share their story.
Thank you.
Who both got lost on the way here. our fault, we take it.
Oh, yes.
Our fault.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are very sorry.
Sign of leadership when you can take responsibility. Sign of
Leader.
Yeah.
Okay, so Iris, I want to start with the SABC Foundation. What do you guys do and what's this walkathon about?
Well, we're partnering with Power, who's an advocacy group that focuses on, people opposing women abuse. And the walkathon this weekend is just, break the silence. We need to gather as women, we need to support women that have been abused, those that are being abused, and show support. So the walkathon is in Soweto this Sunday morning at 7:30, and we're hoping that people come out in their numbers to support it.
Master Chaba, would you say that is the most difficult part? I mean, when you are in an abusive situation, you would think being beaten up and being emotionally abused and financially abused is the most difficult part.
It
is. And then speaking up, is that also as difficult?
It's the worst. It's painful to even speak about it. You always want to hide away. You always don't want people to know where you come from, who you are. I mean, I worked for a company where people didn't even know who I was or who I was married to. And for some people, it was something that I could have been proud of. But I didn't want people to know who he is. And when they said the surname, I said, no, people share surnames. So that's how I got away with it.
So basically, this walkathon is about not being invisible.
Yes.
Open your mouth, speak up.
Having a voice, yeah. And also it's about people that have a voice, people like you, that have a platform to be able to say, you, at this point, you feel so powerless.
Yeah.
But together we can have a voice. And there are people that would be there to support you and hold your hand and help you through.
Iris, when would you say you found your voice?
When I turned 40.
Wow.
My 40th birthday.
I thought you looked at least 33.
Oh, yeah, right. love you too for that. When I turned 40, I found my voice. In fact, for 27 years, I didn't speak of it. And because of that, my incident had happened on my 13th birthday. So birthdays were never celebrated. You put a blanket over your head and that's the end of it. You don't even want to wake up on that day. And when I turned 40, Anele Mdoda happened. And when Anele Mdoda happened, I knew that I could not stay silent. So, I mean, I was in a marriage for over 10 years, and he had no idea what had happened to me. And friends that I had for 20 years were like, why didn't you say anything? And I was like, well, I hadn't found my voice.
And now, can you bring yourself to celebrate birthdays?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they took my youth, but I mean, they're not going to take my future too. I mean, absolutely. I mean, 40 it just takes you to a new place, and you just have to let go of some of it. And for the longest time, 27 years, for the longest time, it was just I couldn't even bring myself to talk about it. And now I can speak about it with no pain, with no.
Master Chaba, is there like a fundamental difference when you speak up and you're healing, but you're still with your person?
Yes.
Walk me through it, because for us, the solution is always, oh, you must leave.
Yeah.
Like, get out of there. What are you doing?
People say leave, and it's not that easy. For everyone, it's not that easy. You always have to find a safe exit. You cannot just leave. You have to plan, you have to make sure that your kids are safe and you are also safe. And at the same time, I think it's because he was also willing. The willingness made me understand that he really wants to change. Otherwise, if there was no willingness in him to focus on his problems and focusing on what he wants to change, then I'm sure I could have, because I left several times, I packed, I stayed in a flat for a year, And he kept coming and coming, and I said, you are going to take responsibility of your actions. It's not about your father, it's not about your uncle, it's not about the man that you were seeing when you were growing up. You had to make your own choice, you know, so we talked a lot about him changing and taking that responsibility, and I said to him, you've got to change and be a human being first, then you can be a man after. Because if you focus on your manhood, you're not going to change. Wow. You need to be a human being and understand that another human being also feels the pain.
Yeah. Iris, is this not where we are? Because I feel like for years and for decades is that when we're discussing women abuse and domestic violence and violence in its nature, we're always wanting to speak to women all the time and you know, heal them, put them through therapy, make them stronger, you know, do power walks with them.
Absolutely.
I felt we were so late.
Society.
I know, we're so late
society.
in the game. In the sitting men down.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, yo, yo, let's talk.
I always say I have two boys, and I always say to them that you were God's gift to me, both of you. And what you become is my gift back to God. And so I take, you know, the responsibility of how I raise my boys very seriously, because I want them to be great fathers and great husbands and great citizens of the world. And I think that that's where it starts. It starts in the home. And because primarily you find that whether it's, you know, whether we're going to soccer at school, then it's all the mothers. Whether we're going to church on a Sunday, then it's all the mothers.
This nurturing role has just been given to us.
And boys need their dads. Boys need their dads. You know, I was a single mother for many years, and hopefully I've done a great job of it. But boys need their dads. And I mean, now that I'm, you know, I'm married to the most amazing man in the world, my son just blossoms under that love and affirmation of having a man in his life that says, I got you, you're going to be great. This is, you know, and so, you know, I fatherless society. That's what it is.
Lessons I've learned is a chapter in your book. What lessons have you learned, Master Chawa? Or do we not have enough time?
We do have. I'll try and shorten it. The lessons is, don't keep quiet. Don't die quiet. You need to speak. Tell someone, tell your neighbor, tell your friend, tell anyone. Don't shock people the next morning that, yo, Master Chawa died, Patrick Shai killed him. Don't shock people, don't shock the nation. And hence I'm saying, remove that mask. Stop pretending that you are happy. Stop going on as if you are the happiest married woman in the world. Because there are issues in marriages. And we need to deal with them in a way that we don't hide these terrible things. We don't hide them from anyone. Because I could be quiet and my neighbor is going through the same thing, or anyone else in my family. So I'm saying to people, talk about it. I'm not saying expose them and destroy them. Talk about it and talk to people who will help you, the two of you. And it's not the woman's responsibility as well. I mean, if people always blame victims, when are they going to blame perpetrators? When is it going to be that time where is this perpetrator? Talk. Let's hear what you're saying.
It's like, you know, always 1 out of 3 women are abused. What about 1 out of 3 men are abusing? Do you know what I'm saying? That always belongs to us. Like, it's our thing. I'm like, guys, we're not punching ourselves. Okay, you're punching us.
And also as well, there are men who are abused. And how do they speak if we can't speak as well? You know?
How do we hide the shame?
Iris, thank you for your time. 26th of November. Soweto. Mofolo Park. What time?
7:30. Quite early.
That's early, girl. Girl, that's early. Okay, we're going to do it. Master Chawa, thank you so much. Your book, I want people to go out and read it. Master Chawa Shai. You're wonderful.
Thank you.
If you're a victim of abuse, there is help. Speak up and break the silence, and you'll find out that you are not alone. My mom used to say, the problem is not new. You are new to the problem. Speak up. The Break the Silence Walkathon is on this coming Sunday at Mofolo Park in Soweto, 7:30. Iris says, wait, sleep early Saturday, man. The entry is closed on Saturday the 25th, so if you don't have your walking shoes ready, you better hurry. The SABC 3 Miss South Africa ambassadors, as well as the Isidingo actors, will also be joining the walk on Sunday to break the silence. After the break, we'll have 2 men from the Young Men movement with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Real Talk. To change the world, we have to educate our youth. Every young man carries patterns from the people they grow up around, and the men they look up to instill certain ways of living that they take as the way of living. This can create a circle of abusive behavior for generations. The Young Men Movement's mission is to grow future generations of young men to change the perception of the world on what it means to be a man. With me in studio is Kabelo Chabalala and Michael Tabane, the founders of the Young Men Movement. We welcome them and we're about to cross-examine them.
Yeah.
Okay, so Michael Kabelo.
Yes.
That's correct.
Aye, Master Chief. So you say you were saved by a stranger,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I want to hear a little bit about this.
So what happened is that my dad used to be a taxi cab driver. And then one day, then as like the work was not good, and then as he was heading to home, and then some guy came and he was like, please man, I need a lift. I got robbed and whatnot. And then my dad was like, but do you have money? No, I don't have money. I got robbed. And so my dad helped him. So it was just pure kindness. So he helped him. So the guy asked him, it's like, do you have a son or daughter or anyone? It's like, no, I do have a son. He's in grade 10 now. It's like, yo, by the way, I'm running like a program in University of Pretoria. Just ask your son to come through. And then we'll take it from there. So as a result, I'm a computer scientist today.
No, man.
Yes.
Oh, my word. That
Exactly
is the
that, yeah.
sweetest story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, Kabelo, what made you guys start this movement?
Anele, I have an absent father. And when I was 16, I used to have challenges of who to look up to, what kind of a man do I want to become. You look at the uncles and you pick up this and that. You look at the guy next door, you pick this and that. And I got to university in 2010 in Soshanguve at TUT. And I looked back at home and I realized that it was the strong character that kept me going throughout that journey. And then I looked back at home and I realized that, yes, when I was younger, 9, 10, I thought that this thing of just being a fatherless somebody was a shock. So from the misfortunes of being fatherless, I realized the fortune of having to go back to my village and identify those young men that need mentors, that need somebody to look up to. And because, I mean, there's a 4-year difference between Tsepo and I. So he's been my mentor over the years, and I realized that we come from a village that needs more mentors. And I put down a plan of YMM. 2 years back, I sent it to him in January, and I said, we need to go back home and ensure that we create a new generation of young men of treasure. And that's how it started. And he said, but what are we going to do? I said, well, we have little brothers ourselves. So let's start with them. From 4 boys at the garage at home, Kopan Kopo, we moved to having 20, from 20 to 40, from 40 to 60. And today it is that movement from Pankopo to Nokaneng that encompasses young men from different villages that have found their purpose, that also help us find ourselves in the process. So that's how the Young Men Movement was started, to ensure that.
So why is it important that you're dealing with young boys and like young men as opposed to like having older men come through as well?
Like, I believe that, you know, you must strike the iron while still hot. That's number one. And number two, I've realized that, you know, like every child is one caring adult away from being a success story. And another thing, again, one child is, again, you know, one bad decision away from being a statistic.
Wait, now you speak like that and then you move on and then you don't realize that you've just made such an important statement.
Yes.
So when things like that happen on this here show, I make you repeat it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so every child is a caring adult away from being a success story.
Yes. And again, every child is one bad decision away from being a statistic.
Bad statistic.
Yeah. So then that is the ethos of Young Men Movement, because we realize that these kids, they have their own internal dialogues. There are conversations that they have with themselves, but the problem is that they have these conversations in a silo. Conversations that challenges their identity, who they are. Am I too fat to be successful? Am I too tall to be successful? Am I too dark to be cool? So then, but if they don't have adults who are caring enough to actually make sure those conversations take place in an ecosystem that makes it okay for those conversations to take place, then chances are that those kids might be statistics.
So now, because earlier we were speaking to Iris and Master Chaba, and they made such a good point about speaking out. What I find with like young boys who grew up in fatherless environments is the speaking out part, right? And the first person you need to speak out to is the mother.
The mother, yes.
Because you don't want to speak out, because when you speak out, it's like you're saying she didn't do a good enough job. So you have this mom who's trying to be a mom and a dad at the same time. So also she's hurting, right? So now you're 16 and you don't want to talk to your father. You want to talk to your mother and say, I am lost because I don't have a father. And if you're looking for your father, it's almost like a spit in her face. Are these the conversations that you're having with the boys?
That's correct. I mean, Anele, what you just said now, a father is not necessarily the biological person that gave birth to you.
Yeah.
During my journey, when I was in high school, I remember Mr. Sifik and Mr. Matibe, and the teachers and the principals that were there. The great thing is that you have a clean slate to start on. And what do I mean by that is that I had to just pick up what were good attributes from them, because I don't sleep in the same house with them. I don't see them every day. So I looked at it and I realized that it's not actually the worst thing to happen to an individual, but the men that you meet, the teachers, the pastor, you know, the soccer coach, you look at him, you only take the good attributes from them to build the man that you want to become. And that helped. That's why I'm saying, yes, at home, mom would want to sit. I remember my mom used to joke about that, saying that, on Father's Day, what have you bought me? I'm like, but you're not my father. So,
yo, this debate happens every year.
Yes,
right?
And yeah, so we got to a point where I'm like, Mom, you do such a phenomenal job as a mother. But those struggles of the conversations of the growth, you know, physically you grow, emotionally you grow, you start dating, things happen to you and you're thinking, where's that father figure? Where's that male person that I can actually redirect all these conversations to? So those conversations, I was redirecting them to those teachers, those pastors, and they helped me groom. But like I said, the best thing is that it was not one person who's coming down on me, showing me only one side of what a man is supposed to be. I could pick from a plethora of them. Yeah, that's how it helped.
All right, so how does a person join this movement? It's the young men movement, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
How does one join, Michael?
So because of demographics, it might be difficult for those who are far from where we are. So the headquarters of Young Men movement is Pankop. Pankop is a beautiful village that is situated in the northern tip side of Pretoria.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful village. So then, so for those who are closer, so all they do, they have to follow us on Twitter, and then they can send us their requests. On Facebook, they can follow us there as well. So our website still on a pipeline, and then they can actually communicate with us via those platforms to be part of the movement.
Okay, so in the absence of their presence, them being able to go to Pankop. In the absence of them being able to go to Pankop, I mean, surely you guys need something like chairs or a tent or whatever. You know, what are the things that you need? Because obviously the conversations are the most important thing.
That's correct.
The presence of the mentors is then the second most important thing. But then you need to make this mission work.
2 weeks back, I had a conversation on virginity and boys. The other week, I had another one on homosexuality, you know, and how the boys feel about it. I'm no psychologist. Certain topics, they come through and you realize that I can't tackle it, but somebody who has expertise in a field would help better. So you do need people who have expertise in different fields. Also, they're in a village. You'll be shocked. 2 years back, we were from Soweto, and we stopped by Mall of Africa. It was just after it was opened. Anele, I said, you only have an hour to spend here. But when they all flooded that mall, excitement, you realize that the only time these kids see such a place is in December when they drop them at semi-marks just to buy clothes and go back home. They need exposure. They need to see a world outside their village. They need a world that shows them that there are possibilities within the confines of our villages. So it's what we need is people who would want to invest and partner with us to ensure that we take them to places in different spots where they can learn more, you know, correctional services, museums, historic places, so that they can learn more and just have diverse in how they view the world.
So your Twitter account has been on the screen. Michael, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the wonderful work that you do. Kabelo, the same goes to you. Please carry on the young men movement. We thank them for being such sterling examples to society. After the break, Garth Taylor will be back for his performance. Remember, he promised us. Make sure you join us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Real Talk with Anele, only on SABC 3, where the stage is yours and the stage now belongs to Garth. You said you're going to tell us if I could raise my hand.
Yep.
That is the name of the song.
I wrote this song in about 7 minutes, And that is of severe consequence, because often, as any songwriters out there know, it takes a long time to write a song. You get the lyrics, a bit of the melody, go back to the lyrics, go back to melody. You could take you like weeks to write one song. I wrote this in 7 minutes. It took me about as long as it took me to write down the words to get the song out. It was just one day I woke up and decided I needed to write something.
What was the, what was the pushing factor? Like, what made, where did this fire come from that went, psh, and then you're like, I'm gonna write?
Yeah, what I didn't mention earlier, I said I was put in children's homes from the welfare, but I, unfortunately, was a victim of abuse as a child. Unfortunately, it was physical abuse, and I was also sexually abused by my mom's second husband. And I also got to watch my mom get beat up very often. And this song is basically about being a child who tried to fight, because I really did. You know, if anyone knows me, I've got a very, very fiery part of me that comes out, and I really want to try and help. So I used to run at him and throw punches and try, and he just used to like brush me out the way or whatever. And when he was done with my mom, he'd come sort me out. So that's what the song is about. It's about being somebody who felt very helpless, and if I could raise my hands, I would. And that's what it's about. It's about being a child in that situation, watching your mom get beat, watching your sister get beat, feeling the pain.
Quickly, you said you're going to let me know where you're performing before you perform here for us. Friday, you are?
My next performance is right now.
And then the one after that?
The one after that is on Saturday night at Rhapsody.
Saturday night, Rhapsody's in Pretoria, right?
Exactly.
Rhapsody's in Pretoria Saturday night. You can see Garth Taylor right now. Because you're watching Real Talk on SABC 3, you get to see him now. If I could raise my hands, Garth.
Though I don't understand, I know what's going on, I wish that I was a man, but I'm not that strong, I'm not that strong. And when I see that look that's in your eyes, I wish I knew just how to get to you. And when you dim the lights and close the door, you'll never find here what it is you're looking for. If I could raise my hands, I would. If I could stop the things you're doing to me, you know I would. If I could say a word or two, I know I'd get to you, and I'll say what I want to. And now I'm feeling the pain, I cannot run away, although I wanna run away. So here I am once again, not knowing what to do, what to do. Do you smile while you are hurting me? If I could beg, I would be on my knees. Instead I stand here with my back against the wall. You've had your way, and you took away my soul. If I could raise my hands, I would. If I could stop the things you're doing to me, you know I would. If I could say a word or two, I know I'd get to you, and I'd say what I want to. Wish that somebody would pick me up and take me away, take me away. Because I'm lying here alone and I'm afraid I'd rather die now than live a life like this. If If I could raise my hands, I would. If I could stop the things you're doing to me, you know I would. If I could say a word or two, I know I'd get to you, and I'd say what I want to say.